One of the beautiful innovations that Rabbi Miller has brought to our community has been the recognition that it is at times a wonderful thought that we go through the Haftarah very quickly and don't always read it. And so why not spend some time studying it in English and then talking about what it means? And so without further ado, I'm going to turn this beautiful methodology of study over to Rabbi Miller.
Thank you, Rabbi Dorsch. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. So the Haftarah can be found on page 706. And so, as Rabbi George mentioned, this is something that we actually did at our USY Shabbaton that we had back in October. Very good to see some of our USYers here with us today, smiling in the back. Yes, that's you all. And so, sort of the way that I do this is I'll go through first and read it, and then I'm going to ask for some of your thoughts on it, questions, things that might jump out at you, something that you really like, something that you, let I say, don't like about what the words actually are telling us. And it's really open to you all, and hopefully there will be a deeper connection to this aspect, and this is coming from Amos. It's towards the end of the book, and so it's in chapter 9, and it's just a few verses, but sometimes the fewest number of verses gives you way, way more to think about. So again, we're at the bottom of 706. To me, O Israelites, you are just like the Ethiopians, declares the Lord. True, I brought Israel up from the land of Egypt, but also the Philistines from Kaftor and the Arameans from Kir. Behold, the Lord God has his eye upon the sinful kingdom. I will wipe it off the face of the earth. But I will not wholly wipe out the house of Jacob, declares the Lord. For I will give the order and shake the house of Israel through all the nations, as one shakes in a sieve, and not a pebble falls to the ground. And all the sinners of my people shall perish by the sword who boast. Never shall the evil overtake us or come near us. In that day I will set up again the fallen booth of David. I will mend its breaches and set up its ruins anew. I will build it firm as in the days of old, so that they shall possess the rest of Edom. And all the nations once attached to my name, declares the Lord, who will bring this to pass. A time is coming, declares the Lord, when the plowman shall meet the reaper, and the treader of grapes, him who holds the bag of seed. When the mountains shall drip wine, and all the hills shall wave with grain. I will restore my people Israel, and they shall rebuild ruined cities and inhabit them. They shall plant vineyards and drink their wine, and they shall till gardens and eat their fruits. And I will plant them upon their soil, nevermore to be uprooted from the soil I have given them, said the Lord your God. So, thoughts, questions, things you don't like, things you do like. All right, this is a great start from the installation. Thank you all. Yes? Right. Yeah, the prophets sometimes, I think, get a bad rap, right? We sort of say, wow, you can imagine these were not the popular people in school at this moment, saying, this is everything that you're doing wrong, and also you're going to be punished greatly for it, right? It's sort of a tough thing to be a prophet. It's not an easy job to be a prophet. That's why we have so few of them. No. But also, something I always like to highlight is what's going on with the prophets. The prophets also, sometimes we think the prophets are solely focused on the idea of how we're sort of treating each other and sort of how we're acting as a civilized community, which is definitely true. And sometimes it's like, oh, they don't always mention all of the religious aspects as well, following all of the mitzvot. But really, that's sort of a given. That is something that we're supposed to be doing, and the prophets really then turn their focus to saying, how are you treating each other? How are you working as a society? How are you working as a people, and are you being civilized or not? And so that's something that I always like to sort of bring out about our prophets. But you're right, it is not easy to be a prophet. Yes?
So I'm a black type person, also a very positive person. So the end of this was talking about the last line, evermore be uprooted from the soil I have given them. So it's, to me, it's like, why do we have Israel? Well, we've always had Israel, but we didn't have Israel, now we have it again. Why do we fight so hard for it? This is kind of why. It's like, we want to plant, we want to grow, we want to live. And that's why we should all be connected to Israel, and why we should never let it go. So that was, to me, a very positive.
Great, great, right? Yeah, sure, this sort of does, and you did what I think we're supposed to do anytime we read these texts, is say, okay, what does this mean to me today? What am I supposed to glean from this and then be able to live it in this moment? And here it's saying, yes, you should be connected to Israel. We are firmly in that idea of that land. That's how we can look at it here, right? And so what are potentially, though, some other thoughts or other questions that you might have? Or I'll even pose a question to you all. We just read the Torah, Kedoshim. Why might we be reading this Haftorah? Because usually there is a connection. So I'll give that as I then saw some hands. So ponder on that for a moment. Yes, Rebbetzin?
I took a little different take on it because after this point where it says the time is coming, it almost seems like a kind of perfection after the deal.
Okay.
That's kind of how I saw it.
Okay.
I was just reality of we'll get everything that we are asked for and the rest of our lives.
Great.
That's how I see it.
Thank you. I'm not going to say too much, otherwise I'll get in trouble. Yes, Mary. Great, great, thank you. Yes, as we talked a little bit about Glock kosher yesterday morning at Bagelicious. Yes. Okay, very good, right? So we just celebrated Yom HaAtzmaut, Israeli Independence Day. And so again, sort of another connection to the land of Israel that we see here as well, as being firmly in the land and holding on to it. Great. Yes, Rabbi Slamovitz.
Well, I like the notion of the image of the sand being shaken in the sieve. And I think in many ways that sort of goes back to Kedoshim, that our faith is also like that. And maybe our lives are like that, that we're constantly being tested, being shaken. And maybe it's not clear how we're going to go through that process. Will we be the ones that make it through or not? That is what's powerful.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Right, so I had asked, oh yeah, go ahead. Yes.
Well, the very beginning of the Haftorah where it says, to me, O Israel, who is just like the Ethiopians, who are like Israel of the land of Egypt, but also the Philistines, the Arameans, they used to say we're not the only immigrants, the only refugees, and then that we need to deserve this land, that God has blessed us, we work hard to be deserving of it.
Great, great. Yes, Sarah. So be careful, right? But it's also interesting because I asked the question earlier, sort of, why with this parsha? Which kind of is a trick question, because we also could have read this last week, right? So we could have actually read it with Acharei Mot Kedoshim, right? Which is pretty much, here are all the bad things you should not be doing, and if you do them, well, then here are your consequences, right? So that seems to be a very logical connection. This week, though, it's a little bit different. This week, we really focus on this idea about being separate, about being chosen. Even it says, "You shall be holy to me, for I, the Lord, am holy, and I have set you apart from other peoples to be mine." Yet, we have ourselves, we are just like the Ethiopians. We are just like everybody else on some level. So then, the question is, what does it mean to be chosen? What does that mean? If we can still have the same outcome, and if we are not that different than everybody else. And before I give a thought, I would love to see if anybody else has an idea about what chosenness means. Being set apart, yes.
We, the people, are chosen to do more than the other nations.
Great, right? We are chosen, set apart, as we say, sort of be a guiding light for the other nations, right? But also, in being chosen, sometimes there is a standard also that we need to follow as well. We're not getting by based off of our yichus or of our ancestry, right? Yes, our ancestors were taken away from Egypt and we were able to be a chosen people. But I gave this example when I was talking with my father yesterday about sort of my teaching and my remarks. And I'm not so sure how many of you had this honor and privilege to have one of your parents be one of your teachers. So my father was my 6th grade Mishnah teacher at Solomon Schechter back in St. Louis. I passed. I don't really remember my grade at this moment, but I know I passed. But I was held to this sort of same, if not maybe even higher standard. I'm not going to put words or thoughts in his mouth right now, but there was this, I couldn't just skate by the fact that I was the teacher's kid, teacher's pet, anything like that. I still had to put in the work, I still had to do everything, and sometimes I had to do more. There was a higher standard, a higher expectation, especially because he knew me a little bit better than just any other teacher that I might have had. And we can't just get by on things from the past. Also, our actions speak for what's going to happen to us. We need to think about that as well. We need to really focus on that. And like what some of you have been saying is we need to also then think about other people. We need to bring them along with us. If we are to be that guiding light, to be that source of inspiration for the world, then we really need to hold on to that. Cleave to that message. And we really need to, I think, more often than not in this world, look at our prophets and feel as if they are still speaking to us to this very day. And that my hope, as we go forward each day, week, month, and year, is that we try and be inspired from the ancient prophetic voice that is an amazing and beautiful part of our tradition. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for learning with me.